What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Firmenich right now is facing a challenge that it hasn't seen in its 125-year past. In the midst of a global pandemic, it's also in the middle of a buyout that might risk the company's longevity. Today, our team from Bolyai University, Christina, Sophie, Kate, and myself, Anna, set out to prove that the company can survive this challenging time in accordance with our perspective that each company has its DNA, and we saw that Firmenich has survived 125 years of challenges, so we know that this will be a piece of cake to them. In order to achieve this, we set out to answer the question how to reassess the strategy and define the strategic goals of the company to be able to ensure short-term revenues without losing the long-term perspective. Our solution focuses, as the question does, on short-term and long-term. On the short-term, we would like to manage the crisis with creating a scented hand sanitizer line. And on the long-term, focus on the buyout because we see the value that DRT could provide to this company. Our strategy ensures that the business and the family will continue to thrive. It will bring down our buyout price, and it will create a successful adaptation to the COVID crisis. Here you can see the structure of today's presentation, starting with the analysis.
But before we can go further and establish our solution, we must understand what the industry and the company is facing. Right now, the global economy is undergoing a big transition due to the COVID pandemic. We all know that, which results in travel bans, supply chain disruptions, but we also know that at the first half of 2021, they already have vaccines. On the more positive side, in terms of monetary politics, we know that they decreased the interest rates in order to increase economic activity. And we also know that everyone was staying inside, so that there was a big change in shopping behaviors as well. And everyone paid increasing attention to their skin, to the surface care, and to home improvements. In terms of the company, when conducting the company analysis, we asked ourselves what was done right before. So the Firmenich family is the world's largest privately held manufacturer of fragrances with 40 family shareholders. They are a B2B company mainly, with customers such as Coca-Cola, L'Oréal, or Nestlé. The most important values the company has are mutual success, passion, talent, and commitment, essence, long-term success, and independence. They have said themselves that our values and our purpose are like a compass. They are non-negotiable. So according to the owner value strategy by Harvard Business Review, we can say that the company is focusing both on growth and control at the same time. And as to where the company is now, we know that on the outside, the company is already in the buyout process of DRT because they have approached DRT with a docking strategy. On the inside, the company is helping out every stakeholder. However, this leads to further costs, and the company is not optimizing costs enough. So the main question of this case was how to reassess the strategy and redefine the strategic goals of the company to be able to ensure short-term revenues without losing the long-term perspective. We categorized this main question into shorter questions. On the short term, we asked ourselves, is it a good time to enter new markets, embrace current challenges, and accelerate new ways of engaging with customers? And on the long run, how to create long-term synergies. Should Firmenich complete the DRT acquisition immediately, or should it be later? And will the acquisition price be affected due to the COVID pandemic? And also, how can the potential integration of DRT be operationalized?
Now let's see what options the Firmenich family has. Based on the Chicago Boot M&A strategy class, we have created a decision tree to decide on the company's strategy. The first question we asked was what to do now. Focus on the DRT buyout or focus on cash and crisis management. As you can see, we chose the second one because in times of crisis, a family business has to concentrate on cash generation and both family harmony to keep every family member happy. It is even stated that it is in the company's DNA to be resilient, and they have survived every challenge that has come in their way. We also based our decision on their principle of business comes first, and I would like to quote one of the family members who said that the safety of our colleagues and their families is at the top of our priority list.
Yes, so after we decided that we will focus on the short-term on revenue creation, we had to decide what should we do with DRT. Buy it after we've solved the crisis or not buy it? Well, we analyzed the situation, we understood each company's profile and realized that buying DRT would be an excellent choice for this company since it aligns with its chain of birth strategy, it will help its profits, it will help reaching the Transform 2025 goals, reinforce their presence in France, and many other things. In short, it will ensure the long-term perspective the company is seeking, which, as Kata mentions, are growth and control. And we also looked at what Patrick and Gilbert were saying, and they seemed to agree with us. Buying this company is a good decision. The big question comes to how to finance this. So for this, we created 3 alternatives. As the case mentioned, the hybrid notes offering. We also took into consideration to create a leverage buyout with a loan or a mezzanine structure, and a gradual payment schedule that could be negotiated with DRT. We created a complex decision matrix which has criteria such as family control, growth potential, debt levels, and risks. And as you can see, the best solution in terms of both financial metrics and family harmony is the gradual payment schedule.
And now we will dive into our strategy that consists of 2 pillars, short-term and long-term, and we will start with short-term. We base this pillar on the question of how can we ensure short-term revenues while preserving the company's essence and values. Well, the answer is crisis management. When looking at the customer trends in the times of crisis, we realize that people spend significantly more time at home, which will lead to the fact that the e-commerce sector will soar. But the question is this good for the Firmenich family? We analyzed the industries that the company is present in, and we highlighted the ones that all have something in common. For instance, skincare, hair care, surface care, and air care. These all have a big potential to increase during the pandemic. Because if you think back, what did we really do during the pandemic? For instance, Christina was occupied with skin and hair care, my mom became even more obsessed with cleaning and surface care, and everyone was lighting scented candles in the house. So we concluded that we must take advantage of these 3 industries, home decor, skincare, and air care, and leverage the partnerships that we have in these industries. And the benchmark for this is IKEA and CeraVe, for instance, who all increased during the pandemic. But the question is, how can we leverage the company's existing partnerships and the company's strengths? We analyzed what has done the company until this moment. Firstly, it quickly adapted its manufacturing sites when COVID hit and donated 20 tons of disinfectant solution and also increased the production capacity to 100 tons. But how to capitalize this? Our idea is to leverage its biggest partnerships, L'Oréal. We would create a collaboration between Ecos and Compass to ensure the transparency and sustainability the company focuses on, and L'Oréal, and create a scented hand sanitizer. Sorry. But why? We all know that the company has the know-how. They also have the partners as support. There is demand on the market based on what Kata said, and also they have an extra R&D allocation for this. So let's see how this strategy impacts the 5 most important values that the company has. Firstly, the customers will be satisfied and they will also manage the crisis together with us. Our employees, we will provide the opportunity to work in a safe environment for our employees. We will come up with a new product line in a times of crisis. In terms of sustainability, we will help people all around the world and also leverage the same sustainability practices that the company has done before. And in terms of legacy, we will ensure business and family continuity.
Now let's take a look, after we've solved the crisis, let's take a look at what we can do on the long term in terms of the buyout. Well, first we have to understand what we are actually buying. We are buying a 30-year partner, a supplier, a co-developer, and most importantly, a family business just like us. However, there is another factor. COVID brings in an uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen in the coming years. We're in 2021. We know there's a vaccine. We don't know how everything is going to roll down. So the question comes up: what is the price? We know that DRT wants to sell, we know that we want to buy, so there's both supply and demand, and the added value and the added uncertainty will result in a negotiation. We estimated that before COVID, the company would have sold for around 2.2 billion euros, and after the COVID outbreak, we think that we could negotiate for a 1.8 to 2 billion euro price. Now, as I mentioned before, we will use the gradual buyout structure. Here you can see two amortization tables of how would we pay out the gradual the price to DRT. So we will have to pay, depending if the price is 1.8 or 2 billion, we will pay around 350 or 550 million euros, and we calculated with the 4% interest, since we know that interest rates are low due to monetary policies. We have 1.4 billion euros that we know, because the case gave us the fact that we only would need to cover around 750 million euros in terms of financing when buying this company. So you can see that in 2022, when the deal will go through, when the signing will happen, and when the transfer will happen, we will pay 40% of this price. And after that, we calculated with the 4% yearly interest and pay for the coming 3 years, 20% of this price. You can see here in the two cases how much interest we would pay, and we think that this is one of the best options in terms of keeping the control that the company really, really wants. To have a safeguard, as we know from Harvard researchers, safeguards are extremely important in order to make sure that the family continuity lives on. We added an optional credit line of 100 million euros just to make sure that if anything happens, anything unexpected that we didn't think of, or COVID might become really severe, we have an option to reach for to cover the interest payments.
But we know that the integration of DRT is pretty hard during this crisis. And we also know that the true face of friendships, relationships, and family connection shows during the hard times. That's why we come up with the idea of a double role committee. So basically, firstly, we analyzed the DRT locations and the FECC locations, and we found out that we have the same location as them, so we can start the integration of the DRT by implementing their own colleagues, foreign colleagues. Well, first we will start in France, because based on the fact that we know that the vaccine already started to be available for the people, and of course we only do this if there are the perfect circumstances for this, we will start the integration part there. There will be a committee of the 5, which consists 5 of our foraging colleagues, who will be selected located colleagues, and they will start the whole integration process, and they will outstanding focus on the hygiene and also the preventive measures as well. So we will not going to have a problem from the infections. And also there will be a consistent communication with the headquarters, but as I mentioned, based on the company's values, we are not just a profit-oriented company, the people are really important for us, that's why they will have a double role. They will be a supporter and an integrator as well. So we took the base of the 3L mindset, the listen, learn, and lead mindset. And we created additional roles to this. Well, in the supporter part, we can see in the listen part, the committee of the 5 will listen to the everyday programs, the best practices, and the daily operation discussions as well. As an integrator, they will specifically listen to the challenges during this crisis period. As they're going to learn about the inner processes and all the company culture as well, we know this is really important that we are focusing on keeping the company culture there, and also we will learn the way to resolving unexpected issues as well. In the lead part, we will adapt to the management style and company culture and consistently help them as an integrator with upcoming challenges. With this, we can say that we will create a deep connection and synergy between the two companies that will help with the smoother transition and faster acceptance. But how our strategy aligns with our core values, as you can see, our customer on the long term will like to have this buyout because we can create supportive, innovative, and sustainable products. On terms of people, we can create a much further diversification and new opportunities to our employees. In terms of creativity, we can create new product development, and we have great opportunities on terms of synergies. In the sustainability part, the production will be from renewable and naturally derived ingredients as well. So during the legacy, we can ensure that the company future will be ensured with the family members as well.
In order to give a visual aid to see how our strategy will be implemented, we created a complex timeline. So on the crisis management, tomorrow we will start negotiating with L'Oréal and trying to develop this product that we've talked about that is very in demand right now on the market. And we estimate that by the end of 2021, the product will be able to launch. And after that, until the pandemic lasts, we will sell this product. And also, just to mention, L'Oréal is more of an example. If there are other B2B customers of ours who would like to join in, we would work with them as well. On the buyout procedure, we estimate that the signing of the contract will be around the second quarter of 2022. And after that, in the integration, as you can see, we start with France, USA, and our joint ventures, because that's where we and DRT are both present, and then move on to China. And from 2024 on, we will create long-term value with them. In terms of finances, we estimated the revenue of the company, how it will change. We see that the 2019 was the starting point. In 2020, we estimated a 10% decrease that stagnated to 2021. And in 2022, based on the market's easing and our strategy that starts in 2022, we will see a 15% increase, and 5% of that is due to our strategy. After buying the company, DRT, our revenues will increase with their revenues, and our base growth will increase to 4% due to the new markets that we integrate. Now, Christina, are there any risks?
Well, Anna, we all know that there is not a solution without risk. That's why we identified two biggest risks. The first one is that DRT won't agree to buy out under our conditions. That's why the mitigation for this is to leverage buyout with a mezzanine structure. And another risk can be that we cannot start the integration process because of the COVID. Well, in that case, we will ensure to support each other with continuous communication and strengthen the relationship with the two companies online.
Now, we know that we've talked about a lot of things, but right now let's focus on what to do on Monday. On Monday, we will have to initiate the discussions with partners like L'Oréal who want to collaborate for the greater good and start producing the hand sanitizers. This is our short-term now solution. We really think that with this strategy, the company can survive for another 125 years, for another 200 years, until they will be true to their DNA and to their building blocks. Thank you for your kind attention, and we're happy to take any additional questions.
Thank you. Judges will now have 10 minutes to ask questions of the presenting team. I invite the lead judge to begin the questions.
Thank you. Very well done. Very good analysis. kept you up at night? I mean, when you read this case, what disturbed your team the most? I mean, it's a very different case.
Most probably the financing of the buyout is what was most challenging to figure out, because you can't really estimate how interest rates, prices, values will go in such a volatile environment. So we've seen during COVID the markets go up and down by not 10% but 100%. So this is why we try to really dive deep into that and focus on that.
Yeah. You made a lot of assumptions when it came to the finance. Was there a lot of disagreement on your team?
We discussed all assumptions that we had. We tried to stay very conservative because the company has a conservative financial profile, so we really tried to focus on what can be exactly expected.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'd like to discuss the finances a little bit. And
All right.
could we go to your buyout slide with the price
Yes.
right there? The one before, the one that had right
Okay,
there.
yes.
The revenue, I'll preface this. The revenue is 550 million
Yes,
euros,
not
not
the
the
bigger.
earnings. And you've
Yeah.
got 4 times. Would your analysis change if I said maybe the buyout price is closer to 500 million or 450 million, not 2.2 million euros? You follow my logic there?
Yeah,
It's-
yes,
it's
sure.
4
So
times revenue is unheard of. I mean, 4 times earnings to 5 times earnings, but not revenue.
yeah, so that was a question that we debated. We are also more familiar with the beta multiples. We estimated that the beta multiple would be around 6, so we just went with 4. We had no access to other sources. However, if the price would be lower, obviously the structure still stands, the percentages still stand, and
The numbers would just be lower.
most
You wouldn't
likely.
change your strategy with a lower, I mean,
Well, we either might rely more on a leverage buyout letter. Yes. So, okay. Our main focus is to generate revenue for the company right now. That is what we want to focus on. If the price is lower, we might start the integration process earlier, but to be honest, with all the legal work and the strategy creation and negotiations, we don't think we can do it earlier, even if we wanted to, even if the price was lower. Thank you.
So your recommendation is to, in essence, retrade the price and shift some of the risk from the buyer to the seller in the form of a staged gradual payout. I understand that.
Yes.
So the company started and the company approached DRT and started the process of the buyout in March of 2020. Given that COVID was already, people were already COVID aware, what makes you believe that, while I understand the strategy of trying to get it at a lower price with less risk, what led you to believe that there was an opportunity to retrade the deal, given that the deal started when COVID already existed?
Yeah, so basically we debated a lot, and the other hard part was solving this case that we need to forget everything that we know what happened after 2021. And we know that in 2021 we were in the COVID, like in the middle of it, and we don't know what's going to happen. It will last a year. It will last a decade. We don't know yet. And we also know that the company, DRT, don't want to put more money into that company. They want to sell it. There's a crisis. They don't know how long that crisis is going to take. So they will, if we're not going to go further with our the buyout process, they may be going to sell it to someone else who will give them a better number. But what we can give them, because we know that our buyout strategy is not to give the highest number, but to save the company culture and give additional value. That's why we say that we will help them. We know them well. We have strong connections with them. We will help them through this crisis, and then they will accept that the buyout of the company will take a little bit longer for a lower price.
So I will continue a bit on that, but on another aspect, because there are some other conditions you might have considered. What about the family ownership and the independence? Because there is not only DRT and Firmenich, but there is also Arden and Tikehau Capital. So with a firm having as its values independence and full family ownership, how did you negotiate that condition on long term?
So just so I understand, you're asking how the family can take control after paying the...
Yeah, exactly. How long? You know, maybe you discussed why these private equity firms are there and what their objects are to be in this deal. But looking from a family firm perspective, and having those values of being independent and having full family ownership, you might have some conditions on that aspect as well. Did you discuss about that?
Well, our assumption was that once we pay for the firm in full price, it will be part of us and it will be part of our family business community. Yes, it will be under Firmenich and it will have control over that firm.
And I also like to add that there is clearly written in the case that for the family, a longer perspective is not like for a normal profit-oriented company. For a family-oriented company, the long-term strategy aligned for decades, not for 5 years. Mm-hmm. They think on a long term, and they want to ensure that there will be some growth in the firm and they can develop further.
I would like.
I was going to go after you.
Yeah, this is a quick follow-up, because at the end of the case, it also said, okay, it's a chain of pearls. This is a mega pearl. This is a big one. This is something they've never done before. And even the non-family CEO said, this is going to change the culture of the company and change the culture of the family. How is it going to change the culture, and is that something you should be concerned with?
Well, first of all, we had to take into consideration that this is not a new company. We have known this company for 30 years. We have worked with them. We have a joint venture with them. So it isn't a new relationship with them. So we already know them. We already know their values, how they operate. So it would be really easy to integrate them since we have known them for 30 years.
Yeah, and I just want to add that from the business perspective, their product completely complements ours, so this will help our company to be even more vertically integrated.
Yes, and as you can see on this slide, we also analyzed what will happen after the buyout. So we can see that each of our building blocks, how they will react to this buyout, to having this company in our community. And as we can see, the results are all green. So we consider it a change in culture, but a positive change in culture.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So in an M&A transaction, we obviously know there's a buyer and a seller, and at the end of the day, both sides have to agree. So let's say that the board takes your recommendation here and the seller says no. You can either do the original deal or we walk. What do you recommend?
We would recommend, as you can see here, our first risk was exactly this, leverage buyout with a mezzanine structure. So probably we know that we have a lot of network, like we have 40 family shareholders. They all know a lot of people. So we would most likely bring in someone who would lend us the money, or if not them, then a bank. But the bank loan would be the last option. So first the mezzanine, right, between equity and debt. Let's see if we have a friend who can help us out, and then buyout.
So just one quick follow-up to that, because I just want to be clear. You would recommend them to go ahead at the original price, just finance it differently?
Yes, we think that DRT brings enough synergies and enough new markets that this will make sense.
Okay, thank you. And we're out of time? One quick one?
Yeah, I have a question on your timeline. It's a very linear time in a period of uncertainty. Did you discuss that? Because sometimes you move to 2021, but you're actually in 2020, so you don't know what's going to happen or how long it is. So how feasible is this timeline? Okay.
We think that we allocated pretty big and pretty conservatively to each step. So obviously there are many different details that we can that we are happy to share once once we have a little more time, and once if you hire us as consultants, if we've convinced you. But yes, we think that it's doable, and it just needs a little more detailing once there's a clear vision on each of the projects.